Hi, I'm Elyssa, Associate Editor of Hotel Business and Inspire Design. Welcome to our Hot Topics webinar, Personal Touch or Personal Space, Exploring a Contactless Future. The hospitality industry is a people industry. Warm greetings, welcoming touch points, and individualized attention. But COVID-19 has created a world where social distancing and a contact-free environment are expected by guests and required of hotels. This discussion will explore innovative technologies and opportunities that will address how adding contactless features to your hotel will enhance your guest stays and make them confident and comfortable, and boost your bottom line. Our panelists today are Nan Cummings, COO of InterMountain Management, Chuck Huang, CEO and founder of Citcon, Michael Levie, COO of citizenM, Ben Mackness, VP, The Wall Street Journal, and Brian McGuinness, SVP, Global Guest Experience, Shared Services for IHG Hotels Resorts. Let's take a minute to go over today's format. The session will be an hour long. I'll kick it off with a question or two for our experts. We'll be covering this webinar online at hotelbusiness.com and in print in our January-February issue. The session is also being recorded and will soon be available online. And thank you to the Wall Street Journal, who is sponsoring our webinar today. So I want to jump right in with a question for our amazing panelists. What are some rising star technologies emerging out of the pandemic, and what technology is your company looking to implement in the near future? Anyone can jump into that?
Sure, be happy to kick it off. I think let me first, in general, state that the pandemic has obviously hit our industry so deep, like others. But the hospitality industry, restaurants, airline, bars, it's devastating. And so it gives you also a little bit of a pause, because we're always focused on creating guest satisfaction, and we have an opportunity right now to sort of look at that reset and look at what emerges out of this and what our new guest demands. So I think that we all have been focusing on that. And obviously the digital requests are, we're already changing quite a bit now, with touchless and all kinds of other features that airlines or other industries are offering. Our guests, expect this to come true for hospitality as well. And although the digital track, I think we can all solve, because the apps and the connecting of our systems there are relatively easy. But to really make sure that from reservation, check-in, and a touchless elevator ride, the touchless entry to the room, and do that consistently in all our hotels, there we have to rely on our in-room technology, our architecture. We have to look at our networks, and all of a sudden, all that is basics and plumbing and foundation to where you build this digital offer on. Yeah, we see we're shaky. citizenM is I guess lucky in that we started 15 years ago, and we had a lot of let's say focus on technology already, so we were able to start from scratch. But we decided on an owner-operator model, so that, like Tessa, we can update all our hotels overnight, because they have similar technology, similar ability, and that gives us now the luxury to make a quantum leap and offer some of these new guest required services, where I do realize that in the industry there are many features being offered, but consistency and reliability, chain-wide or direct response to what the guest wants, we cannot always offer. So it's very difficult, and I feel that our industry, we need to share knowledge, we need to help each other, because this is not about a competitive edge. This is about survival, and we need to stand shoulder to shoulder in order to resolve that.
I mean, just to build upon that, Abby, to Michael's point, right? It really is a new model for us. As we think about how we service the guest, not only are we doing front of house, but we have to do the heart of house, right? Behind the scenes. And how do we do that to protect not only the guests, but also our associates, right? So when does someone want their room cleaned, and how do they communicate that to us? Is that through text message? Is that a call down? Is that something they do on the television. And so as we think about the next generation of technology in the room, particularly through this pandemic, it's both heart of house and front of house, in really having that backbone and infrastructure to be certain that we can deliver on the guest needs when and where they want them, and most importantly, how they want it, right? I want my room clean, but I don't want to be in my room when the cleaner comes, or I don't want my room clean for the 3 days that I'm here. And so the differences that we're seeing in the customer expectation is something that we have to get communicated to our teams at the hotel so that we can be certain to deliver the appropriate experience to the customer. And that's really the customer centricity that I think we're all going to have to chase, through this pandemic and beyond.
Right.
Yeah. I think, I certainly share the view with both Michael and Brian, because what a Citcon, we are doing is we are enabling part, right? So I feel the industry has been embraced, for example, the mobile side of this kind of transformation. Actually, before the pandemic start, I think the pandemic is just more like an accelerator. We see the cross industry trying to speed up this kind of adoptions, including enable more like touchless customer experience, including like payments, like a QRC-based payments. We are working with PayPal, Venmo to enable, all those broader users can be, check in the hotel, check out of the hotel without through the touchless payments.
Absolutely. Now, do you think that some of these contactless options are going to encourage travel next year? Will, they make guests feel safer and more willing to, go somewhere that maybe they wouldn't at the beginning, or at the beginning of the pandemic, or a couple of months after?
Well, I can jump in my thoughts. I think, so I'm not a hotel expert per se, but I think through the kind of the digital transformation from beginning, how you engage with your consumers through the booking and through the check-in and through the checkout. I think once you build that kind of infrastructure, I think the consumer will feel safer, and you have this kind of option for them at least. So that part will certainly add on to kind of feel they're more comfortable to travel. I think that kind of trend will certainly be favor on the hotel industry.
Yeah, I think it
depends a lot on.
Go ahead, Nan.
I'm sorry. I think it depends a lot on the traveler and how we communicate our hotels and how we're operating them in this environment. We focused on safety at the get-go. We shut down a lot of our amenities, and the brand supported that, which we very much appreciated. But I think, to me, it's just going to be the communication on our on our website. Just again, letting people know, and just training our staff on how to handle the guests as they come in, keep them comfortable, feeling safe when they come in, but keeping it a pleasant experience as well. We had one of our directors of sales had traveled to San Antonio and had 2 completely different experiences upon check-in, and ended up leaving the first hotel, going to the second. So I think a lot of it is just the training that we can give to our staff and passing that on to the guests as they check in. But I think it's going to just depend on the traveler, in my personal opinion. Say, Brian?
Yeah, I was just going to build, and one, I'd actually just like to give a shout out to my counterparts here in the hotel industry in general. I think we've done a pretty amazing job through the pandemic on letting our customers and having our customers feel safe, right? The protocols and the cleaning protocols we've put in place have largely worked. And so I do think, Abby, to Chuck's point, one of the considerations will be what technology and what contactless technology is in place. But I would like to just give a shout out to the industry that we've done a really nice job from a protocol perspective in and around cleanliness. And my assumption is, if once we get through, whether it is, everyone taking the vaccine or not, or getting back to some semblance of travel, the fact that we're laying a solid foundation of cleanliness and safety that we have done over the last 9 months, I think is a brilliant foundation. And I think, that all of the operators out there deserve a round of applause for that.
I agree.
I agree. I just want to add that indeed the industry is doing an incredible job, but we do not have a common recognized seal of approval. There is not a recognizable fact that a guest can check if a hotel or a restaurant or a bar or the airlines have X cleanliness seal and thus make the requirements that it's safe to travel. Difficult to roll out quickly. So I think that a lot depends on when travel comes back is on actually confidence, and it's not necessarily confidence of the traveler themselves, but also of corporations. When do corporations feel it's safe again to put their people on the road and to take responsibility for them and expose them to potential problems? And so the rapid testing will help. The vaccine, no doubt, will make a huge impact also. So, I think that for the first time we see maybe a little bit of light, very, very distant at the end of a tunnel, but we still need to get closer, and it still will take a big ramp up. But the real comfort sits in how can we convince and how can we make you comfortable. So I believe that it is not only actually doing the cleaning, but it needs to be visual. So where normally maybe our cleaning staff was, dressed in perfect outfits and they blended in, maybe we want to put them on some bright yellow or green suits where they jump out and people go like, oh, look, it's being cleaned. So that you give a little bit of a little message, and maybe I go a little bit too far. It's late here in Amsterdam, so I apologize. But, we need to be smart in conveying that message, since there is not a common seal worldwide that says, hey, they live up to all requirements.
It's your level of comfort, Michael, isn't it? Or the customer and the travel's level of comfort. And perhaps a brand association, I like Lysol, what about Clorox? Ecolabs are doing a good, all of that kind of stuff. So it's about the level of comfort of the traveler, for sure.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I think also that one of the things that we have witnessed that is actually quite remarkable, because we're all in this COVID together. So it's not like you did it, I did it. I mean, we're all in it together. That actually guests are so cooperative, and they understand much more, and they understand if house rules have changed, and they're respectful for mask wearing, they are respectful to protect your associates, they understand things. So what that concerns, there is an opportunity for us also to emerge in a different way. And I think that this is our darkest hour, but also our greatest opportunity, because we can make a quantum leap and come back as an industry and say, hey, not talk about guest-centric, but who's my target audience and what do I deliver for that target audience? Because, most hotels still try to be something to everybody, and that does not always work. So let's focus on that true contact and delivery of service.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. I think to Michael's point, sometimes you need to be more visible in terms of what we do to enable the cleanliness or safetyness or whatever. I think how do you engage and communicate with your guest, right? In a non-intrusive way, but also enable them to feel more comfortable. That's kind of very important.
Well, it's funny, right? We used to clean the hotels overnight. Like, we do the lobby at night so no one was around, and we'd get it clean and ready, and you did it midday, right? You didn't want anyone to see that. Now, to everyone's point, the customer's looking for the confidence cue. They're actually looking for the person to come in and clean. And I remember the days when we had scent machines to mask the cleaning smell, and now everyone's looking for bleach. So, it's definitely a new day. So if anyone's got a scent machine that can smell like bleach, let us know. But it's certainly a confidence cue the customer's looking for, which is not a bad thing. Yeah. We like clean.
I like the bright yellow seats, but I do think it's just that visual. I think it's, we've been very simple in just the masks and the plexiglass and the tape on the floor. But then I think it was to Michael's point, just the very visual, someone out there moving around cleaning and, and just giving that sense of safety for the guest.
I think I think contactless was going to evolve anyway. COVID has just sort of accelerated that. Cleaning, as you guys have said, you are forever cleaning the properties. Does it come down to people willing to travel and will only travel for that people and connection element that they get when they are in hotels? Because it's part of that sort of vacation type feel. Yes, there's business travel, etc. So I think contactless is a conversation point for sure. But if they feel confident and contact was just going to be a thing anyway, is it about ensuring that people visiting are able to connect and unwind after work, etc.? There's a piece of work there to be done for sure. So, talking as a consumer anyway.
Yeah, I think that the changes we all went through, specifically in our food and beverage offer, and go from our preferred buffets to portion controlled and your whole in our case distribution, because we don't produce at the hotels themselves, but even if you produce at the hotel, the whole packaging, the whole offering, the whole way of it is such a change. And I think that we need to reinvent ourselves and understand what is it that we need to offer and what does a guest want. And we have noticed that from a social environment and from providing a lifestyle, we have seen that people blend right in and adapt rather easily, just the same way as they started ordering food on their phones and getting delivered, and things evolve. And I think that we as an industry just keep on presenting everything the same way. So why don't we look at this point in time and stop for a moment and say, okay, why do I have large kitchens? Why do I have a variety of restaurants? Why do I have all this offer? Is it because I have a group and convention? Okay, how can I do it? So start to rethink a little bit what it is that you're doing for your target audience, instead of trying to create something and bring as much sales in on it, and do it more, with, let's say, the end result first in mind, and then start to work back what you need to do in order to get there. And that has worked well for us.
I do want to stick with the guest a little bit longer. And Brian, I'm going to point this question at you because I know the guest experience is your wheelhouse. If we do end up going to contactless check-in and more contactless operations in the future, and there are more of these permanent changes, how do hotels maintain or change, the welcoming, friendly, inviting experience? Really, how is that guest experience going to be impacted in the long run?
It's a great question, and it's something that we actually don't wrestle with it. We actually embrace it, because we think when you take the transactional piece out of the guest service agent's day, it actually frees them to be more like a docent that you would find in a museum or a concierge, right? So it's more that moment of being more free to talk to the guest about why they're on their journey, what they're doing in the market. Do they need reservations? Do they want to know where the best running trail is or hiking trail, versus them swiping a credit card, signing a reg card, filling out a folio, etc. So we're welcoming it. And even from our associate perspective, they are as well. Oftentimes people think maybe big tech will bring in, when we bring it into a hotel, we may lose jobs. We actually think it'll create jobs, because it's actually going to free up that person to be hospitable, right? That's the business we're in. We're not in the business of transacting credit cards. We're in the business of welcoming guests, creating a great guest experience, offering that gin and tonic or the drink that the customer likes, in being proactive in our approach to the customer. And so we welcome it. We think, anything touchless along the way is great. Equally important is post-pandemic, it gets us through flu season and other transmittable diseases. So this is actually a great thing. And so the new way of working from touchless is always only going to free us up to be far more hospitable to our customers and move into more of a docent concierge role than the transactional swiping of a card or issuing a hard plastic key.
That's very interesting.
We actually have, since we opened our first hotel in 2008, automated a lot of things. So the guest has full control over their time on check-in, on check-out. They know what to expect. We made it fluid and intuitive. So that worked real well. And actually, I build in very specifically certain touch point moments. So instead of what Brian said, to the freed up time, how can I use that well, and where do you engage the most? So we do barista made coffee. We don't have coffee machines that the guests operate themselves. And everybody starts telling me, yeah, but then that creates a queue. That's great. Lovely engagement moment. So I even started in the process engaging. So like, how much milk do you want? Do you want me to foam it up? Do you like it extra hot? It's that type of engagement that sort of becomes that you feel at home. It's like a different type of conversation than can I have your credit card, Mr. Jones, and registering things that should have been done already way upstream and that nobody wants to deal with anymore. So we go from frustration and friction of stupidity because we cannot get our systems going to the opportunity of engagement. And I think that our guest satisfaction is ranking extremely high. And I always say it's not because maybe we give the best service, because there are far better and higher service delivery hotels than what citizenM is providing. But we engage, and we have that opportunity to be genuine, and that's really what makes the difference.
Brian, can I ask you a question just to go back to your comments? So you look at the technology as not necessarily reducing staff. I know that was one of Abby's questions. You look at that as not going to happen. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah, no, I think I look at it like Michael looks at it, which is frees up the time for engagement, right? And so who wants to run a credit card? We don't need to do that anymore. That can all be done upstream. And so if we can free up our agents and our associates to work more closely with the customers, right? To engage more, to really deliver what they're looking for, we think it's a huge plus. And so we look as technology as an enabler that will allow our guest service agents to interact more often with the customer.
So that's kind of change their roles somewhat. That's interesting. Yeah.
Well, it's far more exciting too, right? If you're talking to someone about what they're going to do, and when we're recruiting, and it's about being on show, getting on stage, working with the customer, delivering, being that barista, right, is better than saying you're going to spend your day swiping an Amex card.
Right. Interesting.
Nan, to add to that, I think that innovation is often a misunderstood term. And, we talk about a lot of terminology that are not clear enough. For me, innovation only comes about if you change business processes. So if you're capable of making your reception, your front desk redundant altogether, and even have, maybe a backup kiosk or, a person that could help you, with that kiosk, but mostly is done touchless by your own handheld device, then you see what has happened at the airports. An airport of 10 years ago and an airport today looks completely different. So there's self-service luggage drop-off. Nobody needs anymore an agent for anything. So there is a whole different process that has emerged. So these changing business processes, we need to take hold of. So we need to think, what are the chores that need to be done in between a reservation being made and the guest being in their room? And, getting a passport, a credit card, whatever it is, let's do it when people have time for it and quickly can do it instead of waiting in line, and then make that process different. But then you still need to receive them. And like Ryan says, then that is an opportunity to emerge and provide that hospitality. So the enabling then becomes that you have technology making that possible. But if you just have technology enabling, you don't business process, you have zip, you have absolutely nothing. You've changed nothing. And in our industry, we fight change. and we fight changing business models because we've always done it like that. And I think that we need to get out of that. And now is the time to do that because we have time to rethink it. We have time to test it. There are a handful of people, unfortunately, in our hotels. And, let's test it out and tell people, I'm testing, help me. What do you think? And you guess what? It is amazing what you see. And then you need to accelerate, but the consistency of rolling it out in all your properties so that your frequent guest, your loyal guest can rely on it, that is something they're going to ask, in my belief.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, myself as a technologist, so we come into, if we can add value for this, for any industry, including the hotel industry, we can add value on the two sense, right? So number one, for example, if you, a particular, like a contactless enablement, we can help you enable contactless payments, contactless check-in or check-out. But secondly, like Mike's point, if you think about your business processes change, and the technology is actually enabling for you to create a new engagement points. For example, like if you have the mobile platform enabled, you can engage with your customer way before they check in. I think many industries are already doing that. And inside the properties, you can have through the mobile, you can notify them whenever there's a coffee is ready or meal is ready. You can order food, clean is done, all those kind of things. Or even after they check out, you can still have a lot of other engagement through those kind of technologies. So I think it's a great opportunity to innovate and really change the process through the whenever the technology can help.
So how do hotels balance these increased new procedures for cleanliness and contactless while maintaining some of their cost efficiencies? Does anyone have any thoughts on that?
I can take that one. We just certainly have had an increase in cost with cleaning, but we have hot food in our world has pretty much gone away for right now. We have the small grab and goes. Our staffing has changed. We made the decision when COVID hit to keep our leadership in place at the properties at full salary and full benefits. And so they've been wearing a lot of hats through this process. And we feel like as we come out of it, there's been a lot of cross training. We find a lot of efficiencies. And so that really is how I know the breakfast is to be determined, but we're staying strong pretty much right now with just our grab and go. For the most part, we have a handful of hotels in certain markets that have had to up it a bit, but we're still trying to keep the customer experience. We're not trying to just make it, but that's a lot of training and communication from our property level folks to the guests. And I think, I was reviewing some of their guest scores that, they've started that back up, the GSS scores, and our hotels have done a really nice job of pleasing the guests, and the comments are, for the most part, have been they feel safe, they feel the property's clean, and we haven't had a lot of complaints about the breakfast at this point. Now that doesn't mean it's going to last forever, but we just really emphasize safety and at the property level. So, but that's how we've been able to keep the costs at just kind of a balance, I guess, more than anything.
Does anyone else want to add to that?
Sorry, for us, it was more that, you try to keep as many team members on the payroll and active. So if there's a little bit of extra that needs to be cleaned or done, it's almost a benefit that it provides a chore for someone. And I think that in this, the hit is so deep. It is really for all of us to look at cash flow only and make decisions on that and try to get to the other end. And, I think that nobody realizes what it is that the industry is going through, but it's basically having abruptly one's salary reduced to 20-25% at best, and maybe with a little government help, if there is in various jurisdictions, it helps, but it does not help for the total picture. So, you know, having to clean a little bit more or spend a couple of dollars here or there, that's really not where the difference sits. The difference sits in, once we come back, what is it that we can keep up, and what is it that the guest will continue demanding? Nan's point, breakfast is accepted right now. Everybody understands that on a flight, you don't get, you know, service at the moment. But once we're post-pandemic, trust me, people have a very, very short memory, and pretty soon they will become demanding again. And at that point, whatever you have and that is well thought of, they might accept, and it might be different than it was. And if not, you go back to the old, you don't break that mold again.
I know this is something that's changing day to day, but once we do have a vaccine for this, how do you think that's going to impact traveler confidence and possibly the types of technologies that these properties are implementing?
Well, the vaccine will help. I mean, the vaccine obviously will build confidence, but we're starting in most parts of the country with the elderly, obviously the caretakers, the heroes that have been, you know, holding up the hospitals, and you know, so by the time it starts to go throughout the whole population, we're still a little bit away, and I think it will take at least till the second quarter before we start to see everything unlock, you know, more more solidly, more consistently, if you wish. And then the rapid testing will help, because in the meantime, we will get used to rapid testing, and it is confidence that comes back. And it is confidence that we're looking for. And you know, and of course, everybody's hurting post-pandemic. So nobody is, you know, wanting to spend, you know, immediately travel again and extra cost and stuff like that. So it's going to take time for it to come back to where we want it to be or where we were. But at least if we can get going again, that would be great already.
Can I ask?
And I think,
go ahead.
sorry, no, and I was just going to say, I think it comes back by segment, right? Nan, I think you'd probably agree with that, right? I think we'll probably see leisure come back first, build, and then you'll see business come back and build, and then you see group, right? Would you agree with that?
I agree 100% with that, yes.
Yeah.
But I guess my question to you all, since I'm glad you asked that question, I was hoping you would get to that one on this, because COVID to me right now, you know, you talk about rapid testing, Michael, we've had some, I'm probably more granular than you all are, just because of my role here at InterMountain, but, you know, just meaning that I know, you know, people here that have had the rapid test that comes back positive, and that the next day they still feel well, so they'll take the test that's 2 or 3 days later and it comes back negative. So I personally don't have a lot of confidence in the testing, or even somewhat the statistics that they give us on the deaths of COVID. And I think we're still in discovery. And so to me, I'm not sure how much I personally have confidence in the vaccine. Now, I'm maybe odd woman out on this call, but I kind of, I don't know. I think it'll just be interesting. And I think a lot of it will depend on the traveler, and with our group of travelers in our company. You know, we grounded everybody for about 10 weeks, and I had a handful of them that couldn't wait to get back on a plane. And then the others are kind of okay. We found ways to do virtual site, tours from home, our jobs. So it's, I think it's by person. I'd be interested how you all feel about COVID overall. I mean, just in a nutshell, Brian, do you have
yeah, I think it comes back quick. I don't know. I was driving down the road the other day, and there was a long line at a local store. Well, it's a chain. And I couldn't imagine what that was. People were masked and socially distanced, but they were. So I called the store, and it was the sale on pumpkin spice candles. And so all I could think of was, if in the pandemic and we're in a lockdown, these people got in their car and went to buy a pumpkin spice candle. Once this vaccine starts to roll, and there's this sense that there's some safety, because in general, that will provide some level of comfort, right? Even to the most well, people are taking the vaccine and that starts to go, I think it comes back pretty quickly on the leisure side. I think there's pent up demand. I think people are over it. We're now in the 11th month. They want to get back on the road, and any reason to give them to get on the road, whether it's a sale on a candle or it's a great destination that they can do drive market to even, I think is going to come back really quickly. But I'm with Michael in, end of Q1, Q2 is when we start to see real morsels of, some stability coming back. My gut.
Good. I like
don't
that.
know.
Yeah,
My take on it, Nan, is...
Sorry, Michael. Sorry. I was going to mention the drive-to markets, that they must be almost rubbing their hands in anticipation, I'd imagine, right? And equally, to your point, Nan, as well, I was reading or heard over the last couple of days, only 60% of people are really willing to take the vaccine anyway. So there is some skepticism around it and the effectiveness, notwithstanding all of the awful news that we hear and see every day. But yeah, I think the vaccine will help. I think the drive-to locations has been well documented that they will see perhaps the biggest spike initially, and then as you say, Brian, it will go to business and group. So I think we're all sort of crossing our fingers, really.
Yeah, what I was going to add, Nan, is that unfortunately, when your beard is as gray as mine, you have lived through a couple of ups and downs. And what I have witnessed is that recovery has nothing to do with the crisis itself, but has to do with how deep did the crisis hit everybody. And, there's a huge financial impact that impedes people. So social travel or the leisure travel will come back first, but don't forget, everybody feels this in their pocket, no matter what. So that has an impact. So when things start to recover, it will be slow and it will be different than we anticipate, but that's okay as long as there is recovery. That it will recover, there is no doubt on my mind, because everybody has such a short-lived memory and everybody wants to go back to the rat race we were in. And I've seen that many times with, attacks, with other type of disaster where people go like, I'm not going to put my life at risk. And 10 minutes later, you look around and you go like, yo, what happened? And everybody is back. And so I think we have learned to do things online. Will that continue? Absolutely. Will that increase everything? Yes. Will we want to be in person? No doubt about it. As soon as possible, people climb back on planes. And I have kept on traveling, granted to be, 20% of what I used to travel, but I've been on planes, I've been traveling. And I have to say that, the planes are extremely safe because of the air circulation, and maybe a topic we can hit on a little later. But I think that everybody is behaving, and there's always the odd one out, but everybody is behaving, it's going well. And I think that whether the vaccine is supported, whether rapid testing work, whether it will come back, and that confidence build will go much faster than you think. So the minute the brakes are loose and the government can free up again the restrictions, you immediately will see a spike.
I want to ask, and I'm going to pose this question to everyone, what's technology's role in the future of hospitality? Do you see these new technologies remaining post-pandemic, or will it be more of a hybrid type approach?
Well, I'll go as a consumer. I'd like to see the continuation of sort of automated or contactless check-in and check-out, concierge for sure. I can definitely see it being a hybrid. People will perhaps still be a little bit on edge in terms of sort of sharing space within close proximity. So to your point, Michael, I get it that people are sort of pent up and they want to get back out there and travel. But I think there will be perhaps a guarded approach, depending on your beliefs around COVID and the effectiveness of the vaccine. But I think technology is here to stay. And as I said at the outset, this was an enabler and or something that expedited technology and the growth of it in certain sort of parts of the hospitality business. Internet of things as well, I think has grown and will stay for sure. So I think it plays a future, but I do believe it will be a hybrid.
Yeah, I always look at technology not as one big lump, but I try to see a little bit what it is built up of. And I think that foremost, we have to understand that the systems we use in our hotels are antiquated and our legacy systems. We start to use the cloud, but they're not really cloud systems. And our connectivity, our plumbing doesn't work. So systems are holding us back right now. And then we have a whole other world that is, how do we do our distribution, and what technology do we have available to reach our guests, communicate with the guest, and build up that rapport to retain them and have the conversation with them, including digital. And that needs to sit on robust technology of our systems. So although we can go way faster in the commercial and the digital, if the robustness in the systems is not there, then we have a problem. And then there's a whole different world that maybe, like Ben said, can be expressed as IoT, but I think it is more everything guest facing. What is it that a guest wants? And we're still too much in the glitter phase. If we have a little sparkle, we think it's already cute, but we're not consistent in a delivery of what our guests are able to get when they go to any other industry in their lifestyle. So unless we get back up to par and can do that, we stay behind. So if you look at technology, if that core, the architecture, and the quantum leap doesn't sit there, what is the system of record? Can we get clean guest profiles? And are those guest profiles reliable to 97, 98%? If that's not there, then your consistency in distribution and reaching out to the guest doesn't work, and your guest-facing technology doesn't work. So we need to become more sophisticated, and hoteliers, by and large, do not have the depth of knowledge, and we need to be helped from outside. Not necessarily vendor-led, because that's where we have gone wrong over and over again. So I'm not saying the vendors take us for a ride, by far not. They're doing incredible work, but we need to learn as an industry to articulate what it is that we need on behalf of our guests and how to administrate and live. And unless we can provide them that architecture with crispness and clear thoughts and describing the business processes, we're never going to get there.
Abby, I also think one of the key areas here too is also choice, right? Giving the control to the customer. How do you want to interact with us? Do you want to do completely keyless and do remote check-in and bypass the front desk and go right to your room and never see an associate? Or do you want to come through the lobby and see it? So the technologies that we're implementing, will they be here? Yes. Will they be used the same way as they do today by the customer? I don't know the answer to that, but what we want to do is give the choice to the customer. So, I think for us, it's a combination of both, which is, yes, from a technology perspective, we're headed in a new direction. And I think to Michael's point, building our backbone, getting the information right, getting our databases clean. Otherwise you have garbage in, garbage out. But on the flip side of that, what does the customer want to do? Would they rather come to the desk and request towels, or do they want to do that via text and giving them the option to do that?
But Brian, I think that's where it sits.
Yep.
We need to provide all the option and let the guests choose at the time they want to choose. So we need to have everything available. And what we have seen as really tech-centric and really having done a lot with technology, they eat it all up. I mean, and why? Simply because they want control over things. So it's locked in. They have their time or timing under control. That's what it's all about. So you will see they pick it up, they eat it all up.
And as we start to even look at their trip personas, right? So is it leisure Brian which has a whole other, dimension to it versus business, Brian, right? When I'm in business, I typically come in late. I'm going to bed early, maybe the gym, something for breakfast quick, and I'm off to a meeting. Versus if I'm in for leisure for 3 days, I might want a different amenity. I would be on a different schedule. I might not be as rigid with my time frame, et cetera. And so if you can start to even build up some of those profiles that would suggest that based upon your trip persona is different, right? If you've got kids with you and you're going to a ball game, that might be different. You might want a double or a mini suite or something versus if you're on, your anniversary. And so as I think also if we can get rich data and build out these databases for centricity or customer centricity, I should say, I think that would be a huge one as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think that for the technology side, certainly will be helpful if we can help the industry build a seamless integrated experience through their own mobile phone and the interaction with the hotel experience. So that kind of a touch point can kind of intermingle each other. That's what I think the technology can help. Yeah.
Agreed.
Brian, a question. When you talk about getting that information, what we have seen is that basically for us, when we get, after work in the car and drive home, Google tells you that, your commute home is 26 minutes and traffic is light and the weather conditions. So it's suggestive, right? So I think that just having the information and trying to respond to it is not good enough anymore. So post-pandemic, people want to be served up what they're used to when they shop online, when they do anything else in other verticals. They want suggestive selling. They want it tailored to them. And we need to figure out how to get that. And that's not only our own data. So, we need CDPs, customer data platforms, to suck in different type of, external data to become way smarter. So that, I'm convinced hoteliers, we're not there. We cannot do that. We need help from other industries in order to make a quantum leap. And that quantum leap is now.
Well, I wonder if the quantum leap, though, rather than us looking to others for the data about me, right? You trying to find out more about me. What if the onus was on me to build my profile, and then I open up that profile because of location awareness? So for instance, I'm flying to New York and I build my New York profile. I'm not on business. I'm going to a concert. I'm going to the theater. I want to go to Central Park, etc. I then land in New York. I open up that profile. citizenM goes into their database because I'm a loyal member, and they see Brian's opened up Leisure Brian. And he's here for 3 nights and he's not on business and he likes a gin and tonic when he's on leisure. And this is the amenity he would prefer versus a sports bar and a bottle of water in the morning or at night, etc. And then your suggestion to me might be, different restaurants based upon me not hosting a dinner meeting, but I'm on leisure. It might be something different in the bar. It might be a concert that you would recommend at night versus something else. And so if we could build that relationship with the customer and have them build their profiles for the trip and then share them with us, I almost think that could be equally as important as us trying to mining data from third-party sources and then appending them into our predictive model of what that person would want when they landed in the city or coming to our hotel. I don't know, just a thought.
That could be a great one. I see that there is a question from Michael Gray about that the technology is there, but the hoteliers are not willing to pay for it. And that could be very well the case. Can the technology fully integrate to our system? That I leave up as a question mark. But I agree is that if we keep comparing our tech spend to what we have done in the past, we're not doing ourselves a service. We need to understand that our spend to provide service to our guests is shifting. And if we're not allocating money in order to pay for digital, for our technology deployment and make it available to the guests, we're going to miss the boat. So very, very good observation. It's there, but we have to pay for it. And there it is.
Although this isn't a Q&A, format, I did see another question come in, which I think is very important to address. So elevators are obviously a major concern, especially in high-rise buildings. What can be done to deal with safety in elevators specifically?
Well, right now, I think that, occupancies unfortunately allow us to minimize the number of people in there, mask wearing, social distancing, and that type of thing. We even encourage people to minimally go one flight up and 2 stairs down using the stairs. Obviously, with luggage, that's a little less appealing. But I think that, we understand that there is still a risk when we travel, and there's some areas that just are difficult. So if you're using the stairs, then I don't think you will bump into many people. And if not, there is a risk that when business comes back and there's some volume, that the elevators might again be a quick source where social distancing or what we would like to provide is not there. But we need that vertical transport one way or the other. And so I think that although there's touchless possibilities, there's all kinds of things. What is important, and I touched upon it a little earlier, is of course the frequency of air circulation. And we can increase air circulation by spending a little bit of money. So I think that we should do that, but it is not something that the guest sees. So it's something that we need to take responsibility for and do. But I think that, just like when you travel again by air, in the plane, you have great air circulation. And then there's a moment that you all queue up to either get on the plane, try to get off of the plane. And then, you don't have to hug. You're like hot dogs, turning each other around. So there it is. There's just those areas that are tough always.
Okay, well, we only have a couple of minutes left, so I want to give everyone a chance to say something if you didn't get a chance to give some insight somewhere. So I'm just going to go around the horn. What's one thing you'd like to leave attendees with today? A key takeaway from today's session. Michael, since you were speaking, why don't we kick off with you?
First of all, thank you for the opportunity to share some thoughts. And I think that as hoteliers, we're in a real tough spot. We have to do everything at once. We're hit by the pandemic. Our finances are depleted, and we need to produce it all. And so I would say is pick your battles and focus. So learn to say no. Do a lot of things a way that you can do away with, because nobody is requiring it right now. Nobody's asking for it, so don't let it come back. If they demand it later, then you can rethink it. I would say take some risks and for sure look at what is it that the guest guaranteed will demand post-pandemic. That you need to have. And then let's build up slowly again when business comes back, because this is going to take a while before we are again, fully, focused on our business, pre-pandemic. So I would say focus, and learn to say no.
Great. Chuck, why don't we go over to you next? If you have anything you'd like to leave our attendees with.
Sure. Yeah. So we as a technology provider, we have been certainly go through we have clients in all industries. I think it's an interesting time at this point because of the pandemic. I think every industry is trying to reinvent themselves, adapt to the new sense. So we are here to witness quite a bit of transformation with various industries. I think hotel industry has no exceptions. So there are a lot of technologies you can look at it from data gathering, cloud, AI, including the mobile payments, all these kind of things is available, and trying to figure out what's the best for your new business processes and new guest experience. That's important to consider.
Brian, I'm going to hand it over to you now.
Gosh, the first thing that came to mind was hug your associate, but we can't do that. So stay safe and do not hug your associate, but certainly give them a fist bump and or an elbow touch. We are on the front line. They are on the front line. As we've talked about, owners and operators are struggling to make ends meet. We've had furloughs. We've had layoffs. We're asking a lot of our team members. They are out there in a very nervous environment. They're often taking care of nurses who are taking care of COVID in the hospitals and in our front line, or moving product and, point-to-point travel and getting PPE across the country. They have to stay somewhere, and they stay with us. And our associates are on the front line each and every day in very difficult circumstances. So I thank you for the panel today. I thank my colleagues, Chuck, Nan, and Michael, for being on as well. And Ben, great conversation, and appreciate the opportunity. Thanks.
Yeah. Nan, what about you? Do you have anything you'd like to
I do. I wanted to thank you also, Abby, for keeping us all on the same page. But, and I'm glad that you said that, Brian, because I was going to do a little touchy-feely here as well, because I just through this process, and I have some gray hair, Michael, so I don't have a gray beard, but I do have some gray hair. So I've been through some downturns as well. And I think this one in particular, because it was so enormous across the world. What I have gleaned from this really is, as a company, I think we've gotten stronger, and our, the third parties that we manage for. I honestly can't say enough about the owners that we've worked for, great relationships prior, but we just kind of glued together, and it was just an amazing journey. And I think we all would say the same thing. I think we've found some efficiencies. But I'm right there with Brian. I mean, one of our GMs, when our occupancy has not been terrible because of the markets that we're in, and in this one particular hotel, her occupancy was coming back, and I said, Amy, that's great. And she said, it is, but it's scary. So, back on that front line, I mean, what they deal with and the long hours. And we even had some owners that called and said, add 2 more people to the hotel. We can't break these people, because it just, so that's really, out of all of this, I feel the future's bright for us. Our owner, leads by example, and he has, been very supportive of us, the field people. And so I look forward to 2021, just hope that we come out stronger. Thank you, Abby.
Ben, I'm going to close with you if there's anything you'd like to say.
Yeah, I thank you for the opportunity. And as a shameless plug for the work that I do and my team, we are here to support you guys, the hoteliers alike, in terms of an amenity partnership. If we're able to make life more bearable for the frontline workers that are coming and staying at your hotels, Nan and Michael and Brian, be that through a digital or a print amenity, again, shameless plug, granted, but we have got some insight that says it helps sort of take the focus away from sort of some of the tough things that the guys are going through. So again, purely from a partnership point of view, we're obviously open to working with everybody. But again, thank you for the time for sure today.
No, thank you. Well, thank you to all of our panelists for their insight today, and to our sponsor, the Wall Street Journal. Don't forget to check out coverage online and in the January-February issue of Hotel Business. From all of us here at Hotel Business, have a happy and very healthy holiday season. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.